My name is Roger Strong, and I live in Seattle, Washington, and my biggest passions in life are climbing and skiing. Boy, the mountains happen at a really early age, and I have to thank my parents. My earliest memories of life are truly sliding on snow. They got me on skis when I was, I think, around 2 years old. But then I'd see people on these steeper parts of these peaks or these walls. It just blew my mind. I'm like, that's something I have to do. Couldn't afford the gear because my parents weren't into it. And after that first year of fishing, I earned enough money to buy ropes and protection and shoes and harnesses. And then I bought skis, my boots, and all that stuff. And it just became like, if I wasn't fishing, I was in the mountains somewhere. Something about the mountains, and even to this day, it's a gateway to freedom. Yeah, why I love the mountains so much, it's an environment that's constantly changing. I even go back to like the same rock climb that I do like hundreds of times over. It always has a different view. It always has a little bit different weather. I might run into somebody that is new to it, or an old friend that's done it 100 times too. But it means to get there, my body's moving, and I always come back from the mountains with something special. And even though I'm going to be 51 here in a couple of weeks, and a lot of my friends as they're getting older, they're like, oh, I'm starting to feel like I want to be in the desert more. I want to be in the sun more. It's like, really? I don't know honestly what it is, but winter is just so exciting. The days are shorter, so I feel like I have to get up earlier to get to the trailhead, to start skinning, to climb something, so I get the reward of skiing powder on the way down. And it's just something about sliding on snow and being in the mountains, especially before most of everybody is awake, is a really, really special thing.
It's a little more sun affected, but man, when you're the first 100 people in it, it's amazing. And when you're lucky to get to be the first one in, it's just mind blowing. You know, 2,000 feet from there to right where we're at, vertical.
Avalanches have always been scary to me, and I think I'm one that my curiosity sometimes can get the better part of me. And before the avalanche, I felt that, oh, I've been doing this forever, I'll make the right choice. I first got into backcountry skiing when I think I was 10 or 11, and my dad got me my first pair of climbing skins when I think I was 11 or 12. But this is before beacons, before true avalanche education. Nobody really skied with a shovel and a probe. Holy crap, I'm so lucky my dad didn't get us in harm's way at an earlier age or get us killed. So learned all about terrain assessment, snow science. But even back then, there wasn't really a push about group dynamics and what we call heuristic traps, meaning like every different partner that you ski with could lead to a different outcome. So from my late teens through even my early 30s, I was more focused on climbing. I'd kind of gotten complacent in the backcountry because I spent so much time, and I actually have had plenty of close calls for years. About once or twice a year, you'd touch off a small little slough or a wind slab that would just go away and there'd be no harm. And then in 2011, on April 6th, kind of towards the end of our big season, we'd had a big snow year that year. I got together with 4 friends who I had skied with each individually together, but never as a group of 5. And so the group dynamics were different. And the evening before, I looked at the forecast, and the forecast was for about 4 to 6 inches of snow overnight. And keep in mind, April's starting to get late in the season, the days are getting longer, so as the sun's coming up earlier, things are heating up. So the 2 main things to be looking out for in the backcountry is wind and temperature. That time of year means the danger is going to be considerable to high. And in my mind, I was telling myself, okay, cool, that means we're not going to ski anything on the north or northeast side, which is a couple of my favorite ski runs in the state. So let's just ski the approach slope. Well, that approach slope is 3,000 feet of climbing to get to it. And you can see pockets of instability. In my mind, I was telling myself, God, I've done this thing hundreds of times. I pretty much know where I can stay out of harm's way, go up there, not drop into the north side. We pull the skins when we all feel like we've gone too far, and then we'll ski back to the car safely. And of course, my curiosity, like, well, let's at least look into the slot couloir, and then we'll pull the skins and we'll go back down. That last bit of we had one more kick turn to get back. We only had like 100 meters to get to that entrance. I triggered a pocket slab. Grabbed 3 of my buddies and strewn me through trees, pinned up my buddy Dan, broke his femur, ripped me through a meter gap of 2 trees, and the damage that was done was all my ligaments. Well, 7 out of 8. The ACL, PCL, LCL, MCL, everything that attaches the tibia to the femur on my left leg, and then everything except the PCL was ripped apart. So I was in a wheelchair for 3.5 months, thankfully not years, and 3 surgeries to put everything back together. And I was back actually skiing in about 10.5 months. So it was, dramatic, tough on my wife because our daughter wasn't even 2 yet. And so here I leave my wife with, an invalid husband, a toddler, and she's got a full-time job. And it was an amazing process going through. The most pain I've ever been through in recovery. The pain from the avalanche wasn't near as excruciating as the 3 months after that. Like hardly any sleep. They'd taken my hamstrings to replace my MCLs, and then the other 2 surgeries were putting in cadaver parts. I feel if I was to stop going to the mountains after my avalanche, I would be doing myself and the sport injustice. I feel that it would have been giving up. Like, I wouldn't have allowed to give myself to learn from my mistakes. Because life's about choices, and this is not how it should be for everyone, but for me, because it's such a big part of what makes me tick. I think about climbing and skiing, and now kiteboarding, every morning I wake up. Being so close to losing climbing and skiing, and maybe even walking and running, I thought after the avalanche, it was about a week before we found the right surgeon. I'm like, wow, I'll probably walk again, but will I ever run, ski, or climb? And fortunately, the surgeon, who was amazing, he's like, dude, I'm gonna have you skiing within a year. And like, of course I started crying, like, you were the best. Yeah, I get scared more now, and I always get scared, and I gotta admit, climbing and 20 years of crab fishing and ski mountaineering, something about the fear is part of the allure, because the whole, no fear thing is total bullshit. Like, people that say like, oh, they do that because they have no fear, that's absolutely a line of crap, and those people that live by that are just, their days are numbered. It's about fear. I mean, life has just a few different emotions. There's love, there's hate, and there's fear. And fear can save you. And acknowledging it, accepting it, and expressing it are, I feel, the key factors to staying alive. Walking on a sidewalk, across the street, you can get whacked by a car that didn't look the right way before they turned a corner. To limit myself to just hanging in the city or going for a super easy hike it's gonna become mundane. I've had certain levels of guilt for my wife, and because she had to bear the burden of taking care of me, you know, and fortunately all of our friends got together and built a ramp, because we thought I might be in a wheelchair for 8 to 10 months. Unfortunately, I was out in 3.5. And so she had to bear the burden. You know, our daughter was not, you know, she had just started walking a few months before, and so that's where any of the guilt came from. Yeah, when you commit to a partnership, and maybe that was part of my luggage too, is that my life was still, even though I told, you know, okay, my gosh, I have a kid now, I'm supposed to be climbing and skiing smarter, but I didn't prove it by getting caught in the avalanche. We could have turned around at any point in time. My love of the mountains is definitely something that forever been a little bit more for me, and I guess people could see it as a selfish endeavor. And there was 130 years of backcountry ski experience between the 5 of us. My life is not about me anymore. It's about kiddo. Yeah, the guilt, there's definitely still guilt that comes and goes. Like, oh man, would things have been different? Of course they'd be different. Our daughter's 8 now, and when it happened, she was barely 2, and she fully remembers the whole thing. And she was on my lap a lot in the wheelchair, so we read a lot together. It was a major bonding time for Maya and I, and that was, you know, Googling old YouTubes of Sesame Street, turning her on to a lot of that, and it was, and now, like to this day, like every week is a new level of me loving the mountains more because she loves it.